Welcome back to the Prompt Us podcast. Hey, today we're super excited to share with you episode 1 of The Lost Tapes. You may have heard of us talk about these episodes in previous episodes of the podcast. The Lost Tapes are episodes that we recorded before lockdown, before we couldn't visit each other, which makes these episodes almost 2 years old. Crazy. They're almost like our demo mixtape episodes. So without further ado, this is episode 1 of The Lost Tapes.
Welcome to the Prompt Us podcast, where you start the conversations. We'll be discussing topics focusing on personal, spiritual, and professional growth. I'm Gabriel Conte, and to my left, we have...
Your boy, Zachary Staines, and to our right...
We have...
Someone who's rarely right, Chad Masters.
Oh, dudes.
Oh, I'm laughing as if that was the first time you said that, but
I practiced it for an hour.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so welcome to the Prompt Us podcast, everybody. We are excited that you're here. A little background on all of this.
There it is.
Oh my gosh.
I think we should all do that. Just one, two,
take
three.
Get the nerves out. Podcast 1 is happening right now. Okay, so not that long ago, I put on my Instagram story a bunch of... Let me lay before that. We came up with this podcast to discuss, obviously, personal, spiritual, and professional growth, like I mentioned in the intro. But it is all prompted. That's why it's called Prompt Us. So we have one prompt on the table right now on a card that we don't know about. Now, the story behind that is what I was getting into before. I put on my Instagram story just asking, and I didn't tell people that we were doing a podcast. I was just like, we're asking, or I asked them to ask us anything they'd like to hear me talk about in depth. They didn't even know that I was doing anything with Chad, with Zach, whatever. It was just, I just sent it out there into the Instaverse, into the Spideyverse.
Into the
Spider-Verse. And we got a bunch of responses that none of us have seen. Only our wives have seen them, picked them, and we have one prompt for today's first episode sitting on the table right now under this card is the text of what we will be prompted by.
Who wants to read it? Are you going to read it?
Dude, I think one of you should. I've talked enough already.
I think I'm going to read it.
Okay,
are you guys ready for this?
Are we just going to do it?
Are we jumping right into it?
Yeah, dude, just jump in.
Let's do it.
We can't leave these people hanging this long.
Yeah.
All right,
Gents. Oh, upside down.
Here we go.
Prompt number 1.
Ooh. There we go. Chad knows what it is. Read it, dude.
How to stay motivated to execute the projects you're working on.
Oh my gosh,
Straight
dude.
off the gate, dude.
Yeah. I'm actually really interested to hear some advice from this one, because I think above any of my other friends that that I tend to struggle on the execution side of things. I'm more of an idea man.
Yeah.
And so I have been actually...
You're like, I struggle. And I'm like, yes, you do.
Yes, you do. Absolutely.
Call them out.
And so, but there have been some things I've been really working on the past, I would say maybe 4 months, that I think have really helped. I think that's what's cool about our dynamic, is that we all are in different stages in terms of our professional life and how we stay motivated with different side hustles, with our main hustle, and how to create projects and pursue them. We're all in different stages.
Do you want to talk about that first, even on the personal front as well, like where we're at? So I would, for myself, as far like on a personal level, almost 3 years married. Probably by the time people hear this, will be 3 years. Crazy. That's like in the personal space. Moved out to LA, have lived here almost 5 years, or just over 5 years. Wow, math. Anyway,
who needs it?
Yeah, and just like working in the influencer entertainment space. I've done music with my wife, acting, videography, YouTube, vlogging. Started on Vine, that whole thing. That's like kind of my background and where I come from, and then have developed the entrepreneur leg of the things that I'm working on over the past 2 years, I think, and now podcasting is, the next big thing.
Professional voiceover.
For the boys, baby. Professional voiceover.
Yeah, dude, that's good. I mean, I guess if we're this is a good reason to tell people like what we've been doing, right? I'm going to jump in. So I've been doing, I guess, side hustle centuries,
we always joke about how Zach one day is going to write a book called The Side Hustle.
Yeah.
And and you are
The master of the side hustle.
Master of the side hustle. That's your
Guys,
title.
there's so many cool stories about Zach where I remember whenever we were developing the whole theme for the podcast, and Zach is obviously living in Australia and Gabe and I are in LA, but sometimes he's in Florida. And we would be FaceTiming with Zach, and he would be FaceTiming us from a bus. He's taking the bus home from work, and he has his laptop open on his lap, and he's working on some type of prompt us poster for the podcast. And he's a hustler for sure.
Dude, your side hustles are like in the taxi, on the bus, in the Uber.
Dude,
you're just
literally.
like always hustling to get out of the 9 to 5 to accomplish your dream, which
Dude,
is
the
so
hustle.
cool.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess my big dream is music and entertainment in general, which is why this podcast is like such a big, exciting thing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, my background would be just creative media in general, having done like heaps of film and then into photography and then into music, which is where I still am and I still love, and then design and technology. Yeah, I'm all over the shop, but definitely like the music world is what I'm loving right now. So that's kind of my...
Well, dude, you're freaking
thing.
popping off, my guy.
I love it.
Let's get it.
Thank you,
Let's
bro.
get it.
Tell us about yourself.
So as far as me,
Chad, tell us what you do.
I'm going to tell you
Give
exactly
the people what
I
they
do.
want.
I'm going to preface with saying that I did go to college. I went to undergrad and I studied business, but my last semester of undergrad, I got my heart wrecked. I became a Christian. And then I felt a different calling in my life.
Yes, sir.
Which is the calling to be a male model.
That is the best way of putting that, bro.
A lot of people would never suspect that, but I promise you.
Wait, did that come right after you became a Christian?
So I actually felt I was supposed to be an actor. So I moved from Florida to Los Angeles, and I was a part of an actor's Bible study called Artists in Action. And then some of the guys knew that I was a male nanny. You know, I took care of 2 kids, and I was a private school tutor. And they knew I didn't have any money. And they're like, hey, have you ever thought about model? It was a part of my Bible study. They said, hey, have you ever thought about modeling to pay for acting? And I was like, no, I'm not interested in that. Thanks. I actually said some other words, but I'm not going to share those.
You were a new Christian.
Yeah, I was a new Christian. And so, and then I looked into it and I got submitted to a modeling competition, very similar to America's Next Top Model. And I won. And modeling has actually been my ministry since then.
How many people were in that competition?
It was 3 guys and 3 girls for that one.
So it wasn't like 5,000 people and they picked you.
Well, no, I don't know how many people submitted, but in terms of how many people that got flown in to compete for like a week straight.
No.
Yeah.
Wait, so you won?
I did.
So there were probably like
That's my guy.
hundreds or maybe thousands of submissions.
I'm going to say there's probably millions. I'm kidding.
Listen, there were billions. It was around the globe.
No, honestly, there probably was just a few hundred or so.
Gotcha.
But praise
that's
the Lord.
sick.
And that's how I started earning money, and that's how that's what brings me to here right now. Is I've kind of pursued modeling in Florida and Europe, and then New York, and now I'm back home in LA.
California.
And this is where I feel motivated to execute on projects I'm working on. Because it's a place that I can afford rent, but I can also afford to invest in different projects that I want to execute on.
I see what you did there.
You see the buzzwords?
I see what you did there. You
like
brought
that.
it right back around.
Yeah.
Well, that I do want to hear, because Chad already kind of pushed towards you before, Gabe, about what you do and what you kind of focus on, or how do you stay focused, essentially. Yeah.
Dude, it's weird because I haven't figured out like an articulate way of saying it.
Mm-hmm.
But for me personally, I've realized that when I find something I'm inspired by or that I want to tackle creatively, I can set my mind to it for a period of time, which is like very weird. And I'll explain. So say it's the series that I developed on my channel with Jake about the podcast. That I knew I was going to tackle, and it wasn't because I got really burnt out from the YouTube hustle. And the YouTube hustle is post consistently till the end of time or until your channel dies, or you know what I mean? It's just like
crazy
do it.
Any other business structure.
Yeah, it's nuts. Excuse me. It's basically right, everyone. So it's basically do it until you burn out, and I burnt out. And I just had to take a break for a few months, and I didn't know what I was doing. I got so depressed, and I was just like, I need to figure out what the heck I want to do. Like, why am I so unmotivated? And over basically the whole course of 2019, I just developed this kind of method for myself of like tackling a project at a time and knowing what the goal was and what the end result was and when the end result was. So I knew going into it. So take the series that I made in the summer of 2019 for Jess's family. It's not for Jess's family. For when Jess got a residency and we traveled to Australia and surprised her family. That I knew when I started was a month before we left to Australia, and it would end once we surprised her family in Australia. And then I knew for about 2 to 3 weeks after that, I'd be editing, and that was the end of the project. And that's when I knew I can focus, like hyper-focus, work like crazy hard on something for a long period of time, or for a shorter like season, but like long periods of time per day. Like I couldn't keep up the hustle that I kept up while shooting that series for just like indefinite. You know what I mean? Like indefinitely is just that there's no end to it. There's no like end goal. The end goal was to finish the series, come out with 3 or 4 episodes, and then like put it out for people.
So do you think that's what burnt you out is, previously when you're just on the YouTube grind, do you think the burnout was just caused by there not being any end to it?
Yeah. And I the goals were not really there. Like essentially the goal before was to be able to make a living and a career off of social media and entertainment. Then I got that. And then I just had to keep up with everything. I was like, wait, now what am I doing it for? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
And it's like,
wow, dude. Actually, that's super interesting. It makes me think of that piece of scripture, Colossians 3:23, which says, work hard and work is for the Lord and not for man. And I used to read that verse and think, okay, wow, like this person's not my boss. God's my boss. I need to please him. But then it makes me think of like the Sabbath, right? It makes me think of what if the context of that verse is actually the opposite, which means that if you work for man, you're going to get burnt out. You're going to feel depressed. You're going to feel anxious. You're going to feel let down. But and he's actually given us like a heads up, by the way, work for me, not for man, because it's going to be better for you that way. That way you don't get damaged.
And how do you apply that?
Well, I don't.
Just preaching to the choir.
No. I mean, I'm learning all this stuff in real time. And as far as me applying that, I think that's something that I'm really moving into probably in the last 4 months. So I'm a newlywed. I got married 9 months ago in a week, right? And so I love my wife. But
who's counting? You know?
I'm definitely counting. I'm not going to miss that 1 year. Are you kidding me? It's why we got married near Valentine's Day. I'll never forget it. You know what I mean?
Good.
Smart.
But it's not on Valentine's Day.
I don't look smart, but here we are.
No, but that's the same. Me with Christmas. I know.
Right?
It's the week before Christmas.
Yeah. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Dude.
And so as far as me and staying motivated, I love Zach.
We're all just like smiling at each other like, oh, we're doing the podcast.
It's actually happening. I know.
Oh,
I just want to take a break and hug, but no, we're good. So
that'd be really awkward because it'd just be a big break. Anyway.
So, the previous 4 months have been really interesting because right after we got married, my wife and I fell into debt and we fell into a rut, and we were, I almost felt like I needed to work for man because who else is going to pay our rent, and I think what was hard is that once we got out of debt, I kept that hustle. I kept the hustle of working for man. And I think I'm just right now trying to discover, okay, how do I protect myself by not working for man? Because I see it in the way I get stressed. I see it in the way that I don't pursue my wife 24/7. I can see it in the way I interact with my friends, or I don't interact with my friends. I can always tell if I'm not interacting with my friends, I'm in a bad place, And so I'm in a place where I'm seeing it manifest in like really negative ways, and I'm starting to see it. And so now I'm like, okay, how can I stay motivated to execute on these projects, but for the Lord? And I think that's what makes it actually a little easier is when you really put the pressure on him. I mean, I think he even said it in the sermon today, didn't he? He was talking about how,
who?
Josh, Pastor Josh. Shout out Pastor Josh.
Oh yeah.
And so
I just want to we need to context.
My bad. My bad.
I mean?
Yeah.
No, you're good. If there's ever any context, I'm going to butt in and
cool.
just be like,
good.
Who? What?
Yeah.
When was that? Tell us more.
I honestly, I didn't know if we're trying to keep his private. I don't know if that.
Not anymore.
Well,
not anymore. I really didn't know. But so he was actually saying us, and he was saying to us in Genesis 31, it talks about how he says, the only way I was successful in this is that God was with me. And now if we continue to go back to that Colossians verse.
Yeah, when he's talking about Jacob and how he worked for 20 years.
Yep.
For Laban, for his uncle, and then eventually left. And the only way he said it, I'm misquoting it, but
no, you're good. Just go with it.
It's because God was with me. Like
absolutely.
What was it? I've done this because God was with me, but
I was looking forward to lunch. To be honest.
Were you really looking forward to lunch?
Oh man, I was hungry. Anyway, but no, I get what you're
Keto,
saying.
baby.
I mean, well,
That's so funny. You're like, yeah, I definitely taste off at that part.
which part? No. I mean, can I then recap, Chad, for like that into the question? Like, for you staying motivated? I mean, what are we saying? The question is
how to stay motivated to execute on the projects you're working on.
So for you, making sure that they're God driven, that's how you stay motivated.
Yeah. I would say that. And another small piece of advice, it's actually not small, it's a big one, but I'll say it quickly, is practicing the Sabbath. I remember when Gabe started practicing the Sabbath, he didn't actually kind of say to me, Chad, you should do this, but he described it in a way where it sounded actually good for me. And the reasons that Sabbath was good for me is because, number one, it's going to challenge me to get all my work done in 6 days. And
rather than 7.
Which creates a productivity. You know, it's almost like that article I think I shared with both you guys. It was on Business Insider. And the article said that why other fast food chains should take a note out of Chick-fil-A's playbook. And you know, why Chick-fil-A is the second most profitable fast food chain in the nation. And it's closed on one day. You know, they're eliminating a day of business, but you know, they're
52 less days of business.
And it's really impressive. But I think that it creates an urgency and an excitement around, because you know, on Saturday, guess what, guys? I'm going to get Chick-fil-A. I'm going to stock up, because if I want sweet tea out here in Los Angeles, I got to go buy it on Saturday so I can have it on Sunday because it's closed.
Dude, also, but speaking of the Sabbath, is that in and of itself is its own goal. Like, I've noticed that like by Friday evening, I need to finish my work for that week. And that's the goal, because Saturday's off.
Yep.
And if I'm behind, I don't want to be stressed on my Saturday.
Yeah.
I want to be able to have that time to spend with my wife and just like have a peaceful day, no work. You know what I mean? So that in and of itself is a goal, which is kind of goes back to what I was talking about before, is having these like mini goals set of like, this is what I need to reach here. And this is the point that I need to reach with this project. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think the completely other side of that too. So there's 2 benefits from the Sabbath, in my opinion. There's the benefit you just talked about, but the other side of it is really helpful too, is you taking that day off when you could be working. You know, there's quite a few work hours on Saturday, you know, and it's you saying to God, I know I could work more right now, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to work more because I trust you with what you want to do in my life. And you get into a position of surrender.
That's good.
You get into a posture of saying, work is not my life. Work is not all there is. It's good, because it's good to work in the garden. It's a good thing, but it's not everything.
Dude, especially out here in LA, it's just everyone is just on, like we joke about it, like the hustle, the grind, LOL. But like literally everyone is on it, and everyone is moving hard, and it can so easily become your identity, which is so dangerous, because if your identity is in your work, you're just it's, dude, like
Can I add to that? Because like I think the dangerous part is that a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm on the hustle, oh, I have to stay up. I think I watch a lot of Gary Vee. And he just posted a video. He's a crazy man. Love him, but he's a crazy man. And he just posted a video about how people aren't sleeping. And so they're becoming unhealthy because of the hustle or because of the grind. Which
dude, that was me.
Dude, same.
That was me. Dude, the amount of weight I lost in 2017, just like 2017, kind of 2018, just I wasn't able to work out. I wasn't like eating properly. I was sleeping like maybe 5 hours a night. Like it was just so unhealthy.
Right.
My body was being destroyed, and I was operating at such a low capacity compared to what I could. So now I make sure, like, the benefits of sleeping, the amount that you should, is insane. Like the way you operate the next day, long term, as far as like, you could get Alzheimer's from not sleeping enough.
Yeah, that's great.
You know what I mean? Like your brain needs the time to flush out, like all the, I know there's science behind it, but like basically your brain needs time to clean itself when you're sleeping and stuff like that. And just seeing how important that was in the lack that I had in my life in earlier seasons was like, no wonder. Like, I wish I knew this stuff back then. You know what I mean?
Totally. And I think that's where I guess a lot of people, I don't live in LA, I live in Australia, and there's its own kind of hustle.
But the hustle is still real.
The hustle still exists. But, you know, when I come into LA and I see people working like that, and they're up until 4 a.m, then they wake up at 10, and then they keep going and again. And it's just like, the reason you're doing that is because you're probably out partying, or you're probably distracting yourself but you're still going to call it hustle. And I think that's what I had to learn. That's probably my thing to add to this is like what keeps me motivated is actually just focusing on the things that matter and not going, well, I need to go flip and do this every day because, I need to watch 3 hours of Netflix.
Yeah. Well, on that, as far as like focusing on the things that matter, that like reminded me of what I have learned to do recently is when I'm like scheduling out my week and my days, I learn that first I need to prioritize my like personal things.
Yeah, that's good. You told me that.
Then, because my natural nature is to just work as hard as possible on whatever it is I'm motivated for. But that's going to burn me out.
Totally.
And then I'm going to, once I start that, like on a, like whatever, like say you wake up and you start working right away, I'm not going to take time to go to the gym. I'm not going to take time to read my Bible. I'm not going to take time to just like sit and read a book in the morning. You know what I mean? Like I usually every day I try to wake up pretty early around like 6 o'clock, sometimes earlier, sometimes later, depending on the day or the week or whatever. But excuse me. But I try and give myself like 3-ish hours in the morning of just like gymming, reading, focusing on my own stuff, making my breakfast, talking with my wife as we're eating breakfast, whatever, like that kind of stuff. And then I'm still starting work at a normal time, but I've given myself time to just like have my personal, right. Yeah. And then like when I'm focusing like ahead on like scheduling things out throughout the week, it's like, this day I can put this, I don't know, I'm just using it as an example, but like I'm getting lunch with a friend Thursday, this day, where if I didn't like schedule that in like far in advance, I wouldn't have made the time to go to lunch with that person and like have, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I was wondering why you canceled on me.
Oh, sorry, bro.
Dude, I actually think that's a great mindset. I don't know if you got it from the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but he has, it's one of his biggest principles in the book is that you should pay yourself first. I'm going to give you the example of how it relates from financially to personally. But one of the biggest things in the book is called pay yourself first. He opens the whole premise with whose happiness matters more, your happiness or your bill collector's happiness. So typically whenever someone gets paid a check, they pay their mortgage or rent, they pay so they pay their utilities, they pay for their car, their gas, their groceries, their gym membership, everything else. And then what do they do with what do they do with what's left? They either invest it or they have fun with it or they don't have any left. And so what Robert Kiyosaki teaches is that financially you should pay yourself first, which means that if you have a goal of starting a podcast, you need to write yourself a check each month. It's a bill called Gabriel's podcast, right? And then
essentially make yourself a bill on your your like,
because your goals matter more than your bill collector. And it's because your goals matter more than your bill collector's goals. And then what happens is at the end of the month, if you don't have enough money, you either A, find out how to make more money, or you B, start cutting fat. You cancel Disney Plus, you cancel Netflix, you cancel
absolutely not.
Yeah, but then if
I'm watching The Mandalorian,
I seriously need to get your account login info after this.
Oh wow, no, we don't do that. We are trustworthy Christians.
My bad.
We don't give passwords.
Then you should log in to Hulu.
No, I'll just make an extra account on my account. You know how you can like add different people.
Are you using Hulu?
No. But if you take
it's just jokes. Come on, guys.
If you take that into a personal note, you're paying yourself first spiritually and emotionally and mentally. You're taking the first fruits of the day, which is so cool because that's what God calls us to in Scripture. In Proverbs, He says, "Give me your first fruits. Don't pay me a tithe after you've got everything." He said, "Pay me first."
Yeah.
And I love that you're doing that because you're taking a great principle and just turning it into something so much bigger.
Wow, I didn't even
realize
that, but it's cool.
Know.
Dude, listen, I'll take it, bro. Listen, dab me up, man.
Yeah, that's good, man. That was good. I mean, that's funny that concluded naturally, but I think there's other things within this question that maybe, I guess, well, we can even talk more about like what we're doing, like what projects are we working on right now, and how are we allocating time to that.
Well, I mean, that, like, as far as the podcast, like, how do we stay motivated? That's why on the podcast, we're doing it in seasons. So we're not on the constant, eventually we burn out because we just have to keep up every week until the end of time or until we burn out or the podcast dies. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's seasons. It's like, okay, season 1 will end after X amount of episodes. We can take some time off if we need to. We're not going to burn out. Then we go into season 2, and then that's our next season of work. Next season of recording podcasts. then they release, and that's the time. And then we have our break. And doing that is a much healthier approach, I think, than just trying to be like, we need to keep content rolling out every single week. People are going to get bored of us if we aren't putting out podcasts every single, you know what I mean? Like if it's like, if that's the YouTube mindset
fully
of like the vlogging mindset of like, you have to post all the time, every week or 2 times a week or however much you post.
Speaking
and do
of,
that always.
We all smile for this real quick.
Sorry.
Vlogging.
Content.
Chad just pulled out his camera
Right.
or his phone.
But I mean, and the other thing on top of that, just to continue what you're saying, is that having a break, and this is kind of further on from being motivated, but it's part of the same thing. Having a break gives you the opportunity to see what you're working on from a different angle. And so if we, after we've done the podcast and we're like, let's have a month off, we might update graphics, we might update format. And those things will actually motivate us to, again, execute the next step of the project.
Dude, that is so brilliant that you mentioned that, because I realized that as a creative person, I was feeling so uncreatively fulfilled because I had no time to think.
To actually look at it and go, what the heck am I making?
Yeah, I needed some time off of working on whatever it was. I just needed time to just be free, and it gave my brain space to actually let creative thoughts flow back in, which sounds like kind of like,
but it's
I'm a creative artist or whatever, but it's like
it's so true.
So true. And I didn't realize it until I was like, oh, I'm always creative. I can always think, just kind of like had that chip on my shoulder of like, I can do it just because I can.
And technically you could. Technically you could, and even technically to a level that would still be acceptable, but for you, it loses all value.
Yeah.
And that's like the last thing. Like I couldn't imagine losing value for this podcast already. I know we're in number 1 and we're like, I'll probably be over next week. No, but you know what I'm saying? Like
it's number 1 on iTunes right now as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, right? So like
number 1 in Jesus's eyes.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't know if he has favorites, but if he did, it'd be this
It'd be
podcast.
Promptos.
But I think definitely having that break. And I know for me, like music, the first year I did music, which was about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago actually almost, which is crazy, that I was every month, I was like, if I don't release a song, I'm missing out on the hustle of Spotify. And then I started releasing songs I didn't like. And I was like, Zach, why are you making crap songs, dude? Or why aren't you like putting enough energy into this? I'm like, probably because I'm burnt out, and so literally the break that I had from doing that first body of work to this next one, I've only done 5 songs this year, but I love all of them. I'm so proud of them. So proud of the other songs, don't get me wrong, but I think I got to experience the process more. And I think when you are trying to stay motivated on a project, if you don't love I feel like we've got 5 points now, but if you don't love the process of that project, it's probably not the right project. If what you're working on isn't, if you're not like, man, I love mixing music, but you can't afford to pay someone else to, like, if you're trying to just get a song done, but you don't enjoy it, that's probably not the right thing to be doing.
Yeah. No, I agree with that completely.
Well, and I think something else that's important to know, because not all of us are creatives. Like, I think you guys are traditional creatives. I'm not. I'm definitely of a quantifying type of person. It's the way my brain works. And so actually a way that I stay motivated, like on a worldly level, is I like to quantify my efforts. I like to put a number to it so I can actually see that, the day in, day out grind where you're just like, am I even having a change? Because sometimes you're too close to the trees that you don't see the forest that you're in. And so one thing I like to do is, there's a great book.
Before you get into that, when you say quantify, what number are you referring to? Like time, money,
everything. I'll tell you all about that.
Okay,
So
cool.
So basically there's this book that really impacted me. It's a short book. You could read it while your car is getting washed. I definitely recommend it. It's called 212 the extra degree. And the premise of it is that at 211 degrees temperature Fahrenheit, water is hot. At 212 degrees Fahrenheit, water is boiling.
Wow.
So the difference between 1 degree of temperature Fahrenheit is the difference between having hot water and having boiling water. But what's cool about boiling water, it can power a train. Steam can power a train.
Wow.
And so you can have hot water or boiling water, of course, that creates steam that can power a train. And so I tried to look in my life and was like, okay, how can I quantify my efforts to hit that boiling point to push me over the next edge? And just say, for example, if you cut out 30 minutes of television a day, at the end of the year, you got 180 hours back. Whoa. That's a lot of hours, my dogs.
Oh my God!
Are you ready for this?
Dude.
If your goal is to help people, and say you don't have a traditional job, say that actually helps people, if you open the door for 2 people a day, at the end of the year, you've helped over 700 people.
Wow.
You know, you put a number to it, and then you can actually see those day in grind.
Dude, you're making me question everything. I'm like, I'm canceling my Disney Plus membership.
You know, you can actually quantify. And so for some people who are a little bit more, I don't want to say I'm more logic brain than you guys, because I'm sure you're way more logic brain, but I'm not as creative as you are. It does help for me to put a number to it, so I can actually see the impact I'm having, because it helps me be like, okay, great, I'm actually creating a change. I'm doing something good. I can keep doing this.
Dang. You just flipping drop the facts.
Drop the mic. Dude, facts.
I'm sweating so much right now.
Chad just sent us a fax through the freaking fax machine, bro.
I knew you were going to take that.
It only took us half an hour, but we got there.
Yeah. It only took half an hour, dude. I was going to say it at some point, you know.
But yeah,
I fucking love it.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's so good. And I mean, actually, also, you know how you said about paying yourself first? I think that comes with quantifying it as well. You know, like I didn't, a lot of, and we'll get into it over the podcast and stuff, and a lot of what my struggle at the moment, or not even at the moment, previously my struggle has been the financial side of it. Creatively, I'm like, heck yeah, let's do this song. We'll make as much music as we can. That's not the problem. The problem is actually finding the in-between, the creativity, or the in-between the product, which was living, right? And so adding, I guess, a number to a project, because this could help for like staying motivated, like you said. Adding that number is how I've stayed motivated, because I'm like, well, I can actually now invest that into a ring and propose to my girl.
Amen, dude.
Oh,
Absolutely.
my guy, newly engaged.
It's something I learned in one of my Bible studies. It's called the humble steps, and learning to appreciate like the process, you know, that's something I really needed to learn to do, because I'm sure, just like most of the people listening, you know, it's nice to get to the end goal faster. You know, it's what we want. We don't want to have to go through the hard times of wondering, okay, where am I going to eat? Because I remember when I first when I first moved to Los Angeles, y'all, I was eating Chipotle twice a day. And it's not that I was paying for Chipotle twice a day. I would buy it for lunch. And I'll walk y'all through the whole thing real quick.
This is hilarious.
You just walk into Chipotle around lunchtime.
Chipotle, right? Chipotle.
Is that how you say it?
No,
you're saying it right.
I'm white.
Said it like that.
For anybody who was wondering. And so so basically I would walk into that place to get food. Okay, I'm nervous to say the name.
That restaurant.
And I would get a burrito bowl to go with a tortilla on the side. And then I would ask immediately for extra rice, because these people are artists, all right? These people, they want everything to be proportional. So then they put extra beans, and they put extra veggies, then they put extra chicken, then they put extra everything, because they want it to be proportionally right.
No way.
And then, of course, you get your free tortilla on the side. And then I basically would take half that burrito bowl and put it in my tortilla, and that would be my lunch. Then I would have the other half the burrito bowl for dinner. And that's when my food costs $7 a day to be fully sustained. The hustle. And I didn't want to go through that. It helped me grow.
Did you develop that yourself?
Well, yeah, dude.
Dang,
that's insane, dude.
I'm going to start using it. Let's go.
Once they have Chipotles in Australia.
Right.
I'm just saying that sometimes those humble steps really build your character, but none of us, I don't think we really want to go through those. But it's nice whenever you're saying what you're doing, if you're actually quantifying it and you're looking at it and you're just like, oh, wow, like, okay, this is good. This is good for me to go through this, or I'm growing out of this.
Yeah. Wow.
And I mean, and like, I like how you say that, where none of us really want to go through it, but we have to go through it. You know, there's no, to even be sitting here, there was a flight to LA and no accommodation, you know, and that's how like Gabe and I started being friends, you know, like there's just weird stuff like that.
Yeah, that is crazy.
I didn't know.
He literally flew out here and didn't have a hotel to stay at. I
wish I would have known you then, because you could have crashed with me
and we
for
had
sure.
Chipotle for like every day. But like, I think you do have to, I think it's almost a superpower in a weird way if you know that, okay, I'm going to take a risk that no one's willing to take, which might be eat Chipotle every day because I can save this much money otherwise, or I can still be in LA. And I think even though no one really wants to go through it, you still have to.
Yeah, it's a funny balance though, because like what we were talking with sleep is you want to be able to get things done the right way. You need to, not the right way, just to be effective and efficient and work at your best capacity. You need to fuel your body right with the right sleep and food that your body needs and stuff like that.
I think
but it's like an interesting balance. When you're younger too, like you can kind of just eat whatever you want.
Dude,
and you're
I would
when
love...
you're younger, I turned 25 and I'm like, back in the day when I was younger.
I was going to say, I can see a gray right now.
Dude,
absolutely.
I have like one on the right side of my head. So.
I am.
Thanks, Chad.
Thanks
for calling me out.
I was actually going to ask your opinion on that because I think you read the 4 Hour Work Week, right?
Yes.
With Timothy Ferriss. And then...
And changed a lot of things about the way I operate.
It did. And I just wanted to know what you thought the main difference was or is between efficiency and effectiveness, because they're not the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, efficiency is just being more effective in a smaller amount of time. You know what I mean?
And what about effectiveness?
Effectiveness is like basically the effect of what you're doing. So like you can have the same effect on something, whether it's, say, your effectiveness is getting 100,000 views on YouTube, on your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That is the effect of what you're doing by making videos and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But people can do it more efficiently by doing it with only 100 hours of their time or by doing it with 1,000 hours of their time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the effect is what you, it's like kind of like the end result, I guess the goal that you hit.
Yeah.
And then efficiency is the way you operate in the process of getting it done.
Yeah, because I think the reason why that came to mind is because you were talking about where you are, especially when it comes to, eating or sleeping, and you want to be effective with your sleep. It's not that you want to be efficient, but you want to be you want your sleep to be effective.
Yeah. So like
Exactly.
I have, which goes off every night, and it's really annoying because Zach is getting used to it. My alarm goes off on my phone at
8:30.
8 p.m.
8 p.m.
Yeah, 8 p.m. And it says no more phone.
Yeah.
Sometimes I break it if I need to check something or whatever, but I leave it to the side and I don't check it for the rest of the night. And that causes me just to like be off screens, which allows my melatonin to work better in my body, which allows me to get more tired, get better sleep when I actually do fall asleep. And then when I wake up, I'm not on my phone right away. But then that goes into the more personal stuff of like, I'm reading before I check my phone. I'm having my coffee, drinking water, and then I'll like pick it up when I go to the gym and stuff like that. But then I'm not like responding to texts or emailing people or checking anything until I've like done all my personal stuff in the morning. So just like being effective with my sleep and my personal time, prepping myself to be fully working at like best capacity, fully recharged once I get into my day.
Exactly. And I think that's interesting that people can be in such different places. For example, whenever I was on that Chipotle grind, or I'm
Chipotle grind.
Yeah. And I'm still in a lot of ways on that grind, but I cared more about efficiency than I did effectiveness. Because say if I were working out and I wanted to get enough protein, well, maybe Chipotle's not the best version or the most effective protein for me. It would have been great for me to have protein shakes, but guess what? I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And so I had to go with what was more efficient in my bank account. But when you get to a place where, and it can be regarding your talents, your times, or your treasures, no matter what it is, but there's a time when you want to transition out of just being efficient and being effective. And I think that's where I am spiritually and emotionally and professionally, is I'm transitioning from a place where I'm just trying to do enough to get by, or I'm not overspending on any level of my life, whether it's spiritual or whatever. Now I'm trying to find a place where how can I be most effective in loving my wife? How can I be most effective in being there for my friends?
Yeah,
and so it's no longer a game of hours. Now it's a game of how can I don't want to manage time as much as I want to manage the project, for example. I want to like complete a project versus complete like, I'm just going to work for 6 hours.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. That's why I'm really big on like the project thing, especially now. And that's why everything I'm kind of tackling now in my work, and a lot of it, like you guys know a lot of the things that I'm working on, but I can't like just say it publicly yet. So
I'm mouthing them all right now.
But yeah, with those things, they're all like project based. There's an end to them. Like there's an end goal on all those things. And then I knew based off the end goal, say it's like a year down the line, this is what I want to have done. Or say it's a month or 6 months, whatever the timeline is. Then you work backwards from there and be like, if I want that done, let's just say with the podcast and the series, like timeline. Okay, it's like probably around the beginning of February is roughly now when we're recording this is when these episodes are going to start airing. So work backwards from there. We'll probably want the series talking about the podcast to start running episodes at the top of the year, January. So I need to have editing done on the first few episodes by the beginning of January, which means during December, I need to be editing at around an episode every week and a half, probably getting an episode every week and a half.
Yep.
And that's like where we're getting to now. You know what I mean? Like the series is effectively done because we're recording the first podcast, you know,
that's
which
so
is
true. Wow.
really weird. We've been filming this series for
literally
like
3 weeks.
almost a month already.
So wrapping all that up, how can we just package that in a really pretty bow? In terms of, I think one thing that you really were encouraging is resting well to stay motivated.
So like, I've just been really good about, I've realized that I'm way more motivated when I'm planning out what I'm doing as well. So I take those projects, take those timelines, and then I have to package it out like on a day-to-day level. You know what I mean? So it's like today, these are like the things that I need to get done. And I will set out like at this time, like waking up at 6, maybe I start working at 9. At 9, I start like kicking through some emails. Then by 10, I need to be done with emails, done emailing people back. And then I'm going to start, say Jake comes over and I need to start filming for the series. And that's going to go from 10 to 1. At 1, I take an hour for lunch because I'm making sure I have my time for lunch. And I'm not working during that time, so I can rest up a little bit. Then at 2, I don't know, another thing, whatever it is. Jess and I have to start vlogging at 2. So and that ends at, you know what I mean? Like planning those things out, and that makes it like you're just like every chunk of time, you're just like tackling another piece of the puzzle that over time will build out. Like no movie gets done overnight with someone being like, I want to make a movie, and then they just start working with no plan. So like it's years of day to day, a piece of the puzzle getting put into place.
So you know? I have a question for you, and I think Zach can pipe in on this too, because I would love to hear your insight. But did you just wake up one day and know that, okay, maybe a good strategy is best, or maybe I need to sleep better, or maybe I need to eat better, or this, that? Like, how did you develop the ways that you would stay motivated to execute these projects?
It's just literally like failing and then fixing.
Failing and fixing. I like that.
Failing and fixing. Dude, that's,
I like that.
I didn't even plan that.
It's like a good title.
It is.
You know what I mean? Failing and fixing.
So basically, like, I was burnt out. I knew I just needed to sleep. You know what I mean? And then I was getting enough sleep, but then I was getting sick all the time. So I knew I needed to change my diet. And then once that was, you know, things were good, then I started adding projects back on, because then that was kind of the period of time where I took a break from everything. Then I started adding projects back on. And I was like, wait, I don't want to fall back into what I was in before. I don't want to get depressed again. I don't want to get burnt out. I need to find ways. Like what I was working on was kind of like already effective in a way. I knew that what I was working on was worth my time, but I just needed to do it in a less amount of time. So that's when I started developing like the efficiency and reading like books like the 4-Hour Workweek and stuff, which like I'm not working 4 hours a week, but I'm taking the techniques to be able to work in a much shorter time span and get the same thing done, because I have so many different pieces in my life that I'm just like working on, if that makes sense. Different projects, I would say. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I really liked failing and fixing. Before I came on this trip, I was talking to my youth pastor, Ryan, and I didn't like saying fixing. I was just talking to him about where life was at. And I was like, look, I'm just in a space where I know what I want to fix. And he's like, well, it's not really fixing. It's like growing. It's developing.
Yeah.
But like, it's really easy to be like, oh no, I just need to fix it. And I think just watching the people around me and watching what they're doing, like watching you guys, and just going, oh man, that is something that I get excited about. Why am I not working towards that? And that it might be because my diet needs to be fixed, or what you're saying. Just kind of analyzing what you're in rather than ignoring what you're in is actually the way to keep motivated in fixing those things.
Yeah, exactly. But that, I would say that the development, like what you said about developing, is the single word version of failing and fixing, because you're going to continue to fail, and it's your decision to fix or not. And it's just fine tuning.
Totally.
And then you go back, then you fail again, you fix whatever problem that made you fail. Then you go back again after you fail again. And no one who ever gets anything big done in their life has not failed before. You know what I mean? Like anyone who's done anything big or remotely successful or is whatever, you know what I'm trying to say. Like they have all failed along
Probably
the way.
astronomically too.
Yeah, like more than anyone else.
Yeah.
But it shows
Perseverance in that.
Yeah, exactly. Perseverance, and then where they're at is so much farther along than where they were and where other people are who don't decide to persevere through their failures.
Yeah. And I definitely think it's part of that self-awareness thing of you have to be self-aware enough to take responsibility for what you're doing. Yes. Otherwise you do end up just repeating yourself, and so that just, like I said, I'll talk about finances a lot, but just because of where my head's at right now, but I had to be like, it's my responsibility to pay my debt off. It's not the world's responsibility. God's not just going to give me $1 million. It's my responsibility to use the gifts that he's given me.
Dude, that's
to do that, right?
Parable of the talents. Yeah. You know what I mean? The people who were responsible and effective with what the master, being God, gave to them were then given more.
Yeah, well.
And the ones who failed and were scared and dug their talents and buried them in the ground were then cast away.
Yeah, well.
So,
I'll tell you something super fun about that is that...
Tell me what's fun, Chad. Break it down for us.
So whenever the master sent them away, it said that they have gnashing of the teeth. You know what that is? Have you ever like stubbed your toe and you do this? You know what I mean? You grit your teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do the sound for the audience. Sorry. I'm like gritting my teeth hardcore for the microphone. I think I chipped a tooth.
Have you ever done this?
But have you ever like, hit your door like on a jam of a door? Have you hit your toe on the door jam or like underneath the bed or whatever?
Yeah, it sucks.
That face you make is what people experience of gnashing of the teeth. And so what it's a face of strife and it's a face of pain that just makes you it's just annoying. And so what is saying is that, of course, you weren't physically injured whenever the master sent you away for not investing the talents he gave you. But there's something spiritually or personally or emotionally that's happening inside of you that's making you upset. Yeah. It'll genuinely like make you sick where you're just like, and it's funny because it's not a physical pain, but it'll make you do that. It's super weird.
Do you think that long term is just a lack of fulfillment? When people just don't feel fulfilled, they've just done what they've needed to do to get by, but not actually persevered to do something bigger or for themselves. Is that what that is? Do you think over time?
That's interesting.
That is very interesting.
I have to think. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm glad you asked.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't want this. What I'm about to say, I don't want it to come across as like arrogant in any way, but I haven't experienced that.
Gnashing of the teeth?
In the sense of like what I feel responsible for and working my hardest, because that's a huge thing in my life that I mean, I've talked to both of you guys about it, of like, God has given me responsibilities in my life, marriage, family, friends, career, finances, all those things. And I need to do my very best in all of those areas because it is my responsibility. Yeah. And I feel like I'm doing okay, or I feel like I'm doing pretty well with them, actually. But there's ones that I sometimes fail at, I'm purposefully going back and correcting. Yeah. And that is the responsibility in and of itself that I think God sees and goes, okay, I see you're working very hard and doing well with the responsibilities I've given you. Here's a little bit more. And then here's a little bit more. And it's basically compounding interest. But you know what I mean?
The whole topic of this podcast is about how do you have that mindset? So is it something, no offense, but is it a homeschool mindset where you just fully believe in yourself?
I was homeschooled, bro.
But genuinely, how can you, is it, I think people want to know, where does that come from? And if someone doesn't have it, because not everyone has that, maybe that alpha personality of, I'm gonna tackle this, I'm gonna do well. Because some people take L's really personally.
Yeah, no, I know it's tough. I think it's, dude. I mean, people are gifted in different areas. You know what I mean? And I have. Oh my gosh! I just vomited a little bit. Chad looks at the camera. If you're watching on YouTube, you saw it. But Chad looked at the camera and stroked his chin and did a little blue steel. Oh my gosh! I totally forgot what I was even saying.
No, but I get what you're saying about different gifts. So do you think that maybe something that you found yourself in is the ability to just keep moving on it and to not get stuck in things when they didn't work out? Or because I know for me, my gifts were not in just dealing with, or not just dealing with, my my gift wasn't taking responsibility, for example, you know, like in certain areas.
I think that's a realization you have. I don't know. As a Christian, it's breaking down those verses a lot that a lot of people like skim over and stuff like that. And like really being like, wait, what is God saying here? You know what I mean? And I'm very practical when I read scripture. And I always try and see, like, how does that practically apply? Because, you know, it's, like, all great, like, the very spiritual aspect of things and talking about, like, Christians know what I mean when I say that. It's kind of hard to explain. But taking those things, like the parable of the talents. Well, what is a talent? Yeah. A talent is that period of time's equivalent of, like, I think it was over $1 million or something like that. One talent. Right. The guy got 10, one guy got 5, and one guy got 1. You know what I mean? And the guy with 10 doubled it, and then was given the guy who got 1. The master took the guy's 1 because he didn't do anything with it, and gave it to the guy with the most because he was responsible. And in today's world, that seems so like counterintuitive with like all the political correctness and like everyone needs to, you know, like equal pay and all that stuff. And like, yeah, there's, you know, like you need to have fair minimum wage and all those things. Like there's those aspects, but people who are more responsible, like if there's someone with minimum wage, like 2 people with minimum wage, and one person decides to live off of 25% of that and starts taking the other 75% and investing the rest, where do you think they're going to be in 5 years compared to the other guy who takes their minimum wage and just lives paycheck to paycheck every week? Yeah. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Like the aware like you were saying, self-awareness with being responsible with that. And knowing that it's no one else's responsibility. It's fully yours. Yeah, and then people throw it on the government to be like, I need more, I don't know, like taxes need to be higher. No, I get what you're saying. Tax the wealthy more and stuff like that. And it's just like pretty controversial in today's,
I finally think I know what your mindset is. I think I know what makes you different than us. No, I'm kidding. What? I'm kidding. No, I love.
I'm not different than you guys.
You know, I think that, so in that scripture you keep mentioning, I believe it's Matthew 25. Okay.
Oh, he hit the reference.
Don't fact check me. But I think what's interesting.
You right now, bro.
Hold on. I really want you to. I'm pretty sure it's Matthew 25.
Okay. Hold on. Let me just. I have the Bible app pulled up here. Okay. No. Keep talking. No, keep talking though.
So basically, what I think can actually make you different than me in that regard is that you are not accepting ownership of what you have. Where if you look at a steward, a traditional definition of a steward is someone who manages the household finances or estate. So you're just managing what God's given you. You don't have more skin in the game other than God is blessing you with something for you to invest from. And the reason why I'm making that differentiation, is that a word?
Differentiation?
Yeah. Man,
dude, you were right.
You were on it.
The parable of the bags of gold.
I broke out in a sweat when I was trying to say that word.
Differentiation.
But so
no, actually, dude, it's here. Parable of the bags of gold. You know that Matthew 25.
If you see what it says,
Chad, you in memorizing scripture you forgot to mention this before. You're getting your master's degree in theology.
Yep, I'm getting an MAT. I'm getting a MAT. A master's of arts in
Chad
theology.
Master's getting his master's, baby.
Yeah. But so here, I'm actually going to point to this because I really want to show you this. And so the man who had 1 talent, and he said, so he responded to the master and he said, I know that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you've not scattered seeds. So I was afraid and went out and hid your gold in the ground. And so here is what belongs to you. He was afraid of losing it, is what he was basically saying. And I think what makes it hard for me, and what keeps me from being motivated to execute in the projects I want, is I'm afraid of failing. I'm afraid of losing it, and where I'm taking too much ownership from God. And I think that is a pretty big difference between you and me, and something I obviously need to do better.
It's funny that you say that, because I think this time in my life where I've been arguably the most motivated to do things is where I've been most frightened of failing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Dude, every day I'm like, dude, this series is going to flop, bro. Like, I haven't posted on my YouTube channel in 2 years. This Siri decides to start going off. Yeah, but like, I haven't posted on my YouTube channel in 2 years, maybe a little over 2 years. And I'm coming back with a full series based around a podcast that who knows if it's going to do well, because in the past 3 years of being married, I haven't really pulled myself work-wise, haven't really separated myself from doing things with Jess. So now I'm questioning myself with, is what I'm doing on my own actually going to work if my wife isn't involved? Because people want to see us as a couple, and people want to see us doing things together. Would people have rather me done a podcast with Jess than with you two?
Zach, we're out.
This is the first podcast in. Oh my God.
No,
but fully understand.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that has been, I mean, it's getting really like personal, but I remember the first time, shout out to Jess's mom. No, but like, I remember we were in Australia one time, and background, I was like doing the whole Vine thing. I had a few million followers across the board, like before Jess and I even started dating. Then she came along and then we started growing together, but I was always like, quote unquote, bigger numbers wise, like, you know, getting more likes, whatever.
Yeah.
And then there came a time through our relationship where, because our relationship was attracting a female audience and females love Jess and looking up to her as that figure, where then Jess started passing me with like likes on Instagram and more followers and stuff like that on different platforms. And I remember Jess's mom was like, oh, look at Jess is getting more likes than you are now. Like totally innocent. She said that, but it was like what I was thinking and what I was questioning myself about is real, and other people were noticing it.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those things like, oh yeah, like everything that I did is fully contingent on my wife
Wow.
and what I do with her. And if I try to do anything by myself, it's probably going to fail.
Well, I mean, but if I can encourage you real quick, you're not burying the talent right now. The fact that there's all these cameras and these microphones and Zach's here from Australia, you know, it shows that you're not burying it.
Yeah, that's
I mean, I get the nervous energy and I get you being frightened about it, but you are not that person who's burying it.
Well, and that's where now I will say, other than different acting gigs that I did over time, that was the one thing I did outside of doing stuff with Jess. But, and then like my YouTube videos, but those like slowly fizzled off just because I was getting more and more burnt out. But I think it's because of my knowledge of this passage of scripture and knowing that even though my emotions and my thoughts were telling me otherwise, this is what I had to do. You know what I mean? And it's, I think that's what's like, 'cause almost every day I have some sort of thought that's like, just a quick little jab. Like, I think the devil just like, haha, here's some doubt. You know what I mean? Like, is the series even going to do good? And it's just like, it's fine. No, I need to approach it with, the series is going to be great. It's going to be phenomenal. I know it's going to do well. And that gives me motivation to then approach it with the motivation and energy and creativity and like the feeling of it's just going to blow up and be incredible. People are going to love it. And if it doesn't, I still did my best. You know what I mean? And I think the motivation all starts from like going back to the initial question, how to stay motivated to execute the projects you're working on. It all comes from like my faith and the responsibility that I know I have as a child of God. You know what I mean? And being a good steward of what he's placed in my life.
Like Chad's saying, if it counts for anything, dude, the fact that we're all sitting here and we're all just good friends that are trying to make something valuable and worth watching.
Yeah.
That's crazy in itself. It's not just, regardless of what happens, I know that I'm going to get so much out of these podcasts coming up and the series and being able to see Chelsea and I's experience through that. You know, like, I think that's another valuable thing I've learned from you is that, you know, if you're going to do one thing, make sure you can encapsulate is that how you say it? Encapsulate. Encapsulate.
Yeah, no, that's Australian version. Yeah, encapsulate.
Encapsulate. You just make sure you encapsulate a bunch of different things, you know, like, and I know deep down for you, if the series were to not work, you know that you got to capture your friend's engagement. And that's still like, you know what? That was worth the trip.
Dude, and it's so funny. Like, even, remember last year at this time, we filmed the music video for the first I'll Be Home.
Oh, yeah, the Christmas one.
Yeah, cover album that we did.
Yeah.
That Justin and I did. We filmed a music video for one of them. And, like, the amount of effort that we put into that music video probably wasn't worth the time that we...
Dude, me coming out the 3-4 days we hustled to get it ready.
Yeah. All of it. Like, it was crazy how much effort we put into it. And like, I would approach it differently now, but the experience was incredible.
Oh yeah.
What we got
The
to
most
do.
fun,
And
dude.
so
I
much
still
fun.
talk about it all the time.
It's
It was
so
just fun.
good. And like, it is what it is. Like, but the experience is what really mattered. And looking back at that season and you being here and just like totally just, and then going to Chad, the times that we go to the gym every morning, like half of it is that, you know, we're working out and trying to stay as consistent as possible with it. But then also like the conversations we have there, and catching up with each other, and just like the fellowship that we have and accountability that we have with each other, just by showing up at the gym together. You know what I mean? Like doing those things, placing those things in your life that you know you're going to get fulfillment out of. And like this podcast is like, oh yeah, it's another project that we're working on. It's a work venture, and it's going to be something that hopefully is successful and on a level outside of like the monetary value that, you know, we hope to get from it. We hope it reaches people.
Yeah, fully.
And hope it touches people. And in the process, we have had so much fun developing it.
Yeah.
And the conversations we're going to have for however many years we decide to do this podcast for are going to be incredible.
Fully.
You know what I mean?
Dude.
Ooh, if there's one last thing I can say to encourage you guys and encourage the audience, I would love to say
Encourage me,
it.
Chad.
So
I've been waiting for it.
I just want to take a minute to encourage you all to, as you're going out on these great endeavors that are huge projects, small side hustles, whatever they may be, I want you to ask yourselves this question. And by the way, this is, I want to say under the pretense of you being a person of faith, you being a Christian, okay? Is this project or side hustle, whatever it may be, is it to build your kingdom or is it to build God's kingdom? Because in Isaiah 55, it says, I send my word out and it never returns to me void. It always accomplishes what I sent it for. And it's the same way in that the rain falls from the sky and then it lands on the ground and it waters the plants, which produce vegetation, which produce food, you know, and all these different things. It serves a purpose. And so I just want you to really think about, am I trying to build my kingdom or am I trying to build God's kingdom? Because if you're trying to build God's kingdom, then your trust and your expectancy on his resources are just make it so much easier for you. You can just totally rely on him.
Yo, what's up, guys? Thank you so much for watching this episode of Prompt Us. Make sure to go to promptuspodcast.com to submit your own prompts, and we will see you in the next one.